caught my fiancé in bed with my brother, so I exposed him to his church. Then I used an email, video, and door logs to stack receipts, sent them to his church so he resigned, kept our joint savings, cut off my brother and parents, and moved to Minneapolis alone. On the night before my 37th birthday, I sat on a crowded light rail train with a grocery store cake on my lap and watched an email ruin my whole life. The subject line was simple: your brother and your fiancé. There was no text in the body. Just a link to a video. I opened it because of course I did. The clip was short and shaky, filmed from a half-open doorway. My doorway, my gray headboard, my blue comforter, and there on top of my sheets were two people tangled together. One was my fiancé. The other was my younger brother. By the end of that week, I had walked in on them in person. My parents had told me, "You cannot throw away your brother over some guy." And my older sister had said the line that finally broke something in me: men can be replaced. Jake cannot. So I did replace someone. I replaced my entire family with a firewall. I used every skill I have as a cybersecurity analyst. I traced every log. I stacked every receipt. I knocked my fiancé out of his job at the church, forced a legal split of our home, blocked my own brother from my life, and moved halfway across the country to build a new network without any of them in it. This is how I cut a breach out of my life and never let it back in. My name is Nina. At the time this happened, I was 36 years old and worked in cybersecurity for a regional bank in Phoenix. My days were log files and alerts. I watched for strange traffic, weird logins, failed passwords at 3 a.m. I thought in terms of doors and keys. Access and lockout, trust and breach. I used to joke that people were like networks. You give the right people the right access and everything works. You give the wrong person too much power and they bring the whole system down. I did not realize my own life was wide open. At home, I had what looked like a simple, normal setup. A small stucco rental on a quiet street in Mesa. Fake grass in the front yard that never turned brown. A bright yellow front door with peeling paint. Two cheap plastic chairs on the porch that turned chalky in the sun. Inside, there was a gray sectional sofa with one sagging cushion. A coffee table with water rings from too many game nights. A refrigerator covered in photos and sticky notes. Wedding planning lists. A countdown drawn in marker. My fiancé's name was Ethan. He was 37, associate pastor at a big non-denominational church across town. He ran the young adults group. He played guitar on Sundays. People loved his soft voice and quiet smile. He had a code of conduct in his contract: no affairs, no moral failures as they called them, keep a clean image. My younger brother Jake was 33. He was the opposite of Ethan in a lot of ways. Loud, funny. A bartender at a downtown music venue. He also did DJ sets and small shows. People liked him too. He was the fun uncle to our cousins, the golden boy who always bounced back. I was the steady one. The responsible one, the one my parents called when their printer would not work or when they got a strange email. "We trust you," my mom always said. "You keep us safe." I wish they had meant it. The week of my birthday, life looked full. The church ladies were throwing me a combined birthday and wedding shower in the fellowship hall that Saturday. My mom had ordered trays of food. My older sister Lily was in charge of games. Ethan's mom was making her famous red velvet cupcakes. At work, my team had just finished a long security project. We stopped a nasty attack before it got into the main system. My boss let us leave early that Friday. I got on the light rail downtown with a cheap cake on my lap because Ethan had texted me, "Pick up something sweet and come home." Just us tonight before all the craziness tomorrow. The train rocked. People stood shoulder to shoulder. My phone buzzed in my bag. At first I ignored it. I was holding the cake with both hands, but it buzzed again and again. New email alert. Same sender. Unknown. When there is weird activity, my brain pays attention. It is my job. I set the cake carefully on the floor between my feet and dug my phone out. The email app showed one new message from a free account I did not know. Subject: your brother and your fiancé. My heart sped up. For half a second I thought maybe it was a joke, some meme. I tapped it. There was only one thing inside, a link that said, "You should see this before you marry him." Every training I ever took said, "Do not click strange links," but my thumb moved on its own. A browser window opened. A short video loaded. Someone had filmed from a crack in a doorway. The frame shook a little. All I saw at first was a slice of wall. Then the camera panned. The room was mine. I knew the gray upholstered headboard. I had picked it out from a sale site 3 years ago. I knew the blue comforter with the snagged thread near the bottom. I knew the cheap white nightstand with one drawer that stuck. On the bed, 2 bodies, bare shoulders, tangled legs, sheets half on the floor. A man rolled to his back and I saw his face in full. Ethan. His hair, his beard, the little scar near his ear from a childhood bike crash. He laughed at something and turned toward the other person. The other person shifted. Dark hair fell back. A tattoo on his upper arm showed in the light, an old cassette tape with vines around it. Jake's tattoo, my little brother, in my bed with my fiancé. In a video filmed by someone else. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I would be sick right there on the train. I hit pause. My own face looked back at me from the bedroom wall in a framed selfie, all 3 of us. Me in the middle, Ethan on my right, Jake on my left. I hurried off at the next stop. I almost forgot the cake. Some stranger called after me and shoved it into my arms as the train doors closed. Outside the air was hot and dry. People moved around me, but they were blurry. My hands shook so much I could barely unlock my ride app. I ordered a car and stood there on the sidewalk with the cake box digging into my palms. The ride home felt forever and also like 1 second. I watched the same 30 seconds of that video again and again. I never let it play longer. I did not need more detail. By the time we turned onto my street, my hands had stopped shaking. My heart had not. Ethan's silver sedan was in the driveway. So was Jake's beat-up Jeep, parked crooked like always. I thanked the driver and walked up the path. The fake grass felt too soft under my feet. The yellow door looked like a stranger's. I pushed it open. The house smelled like garlic and candle wax. Spotify played some soft indie playlist. 2 wine glasses sat on the coffee table. A bowl with the last of some pasta. "Babe," Ethan called from down the hall. "You're early." I did not answer. I walked down the hallway. The carpet had a little rip near the baseboard where our old dog used to scratch. The bedroom door was almost closed. A thin line of light shone out. I pushed the door open. It was the same scene as the video, only now they were sitting up. Ethan was in boxers. Jake was tugging on his jeans, shirtless. The sheets were messy. For a second nobody moved, then Jake swore and grabbed for his shirt. Ethan's face went white. "Nina," he said. This is not what it looks like." He really said that. I looked at them, at the bed, at my pillow. "You look busy," I said. My voice sounded flat. "I'll let you finish ruining what is left." I turned around and walked to the hall closet, pulled out my old gym duffel and started packing. Socks, work shirts, underwear, my laptop, old hard drive, the blue hoodie I liked. Ethan followed me babbling. "Nina, please, wait. You do not understand. We can talk about this. It just happened. It was a mistake." "How long?" I asked without turning. He stopped. "What? How long has it just been happening?" I said. "Weeks, lifetimes, pick one." He did not answer. Jake appeared in the doorway now, t-shirt on backward, hair a mess. "Nina, let me explain. I was drunk. It did not mean anything. I screwed up." "Yeah," I said. "You did?" I swung the bag over my shoulder. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from my mom. "Come over," it said. "We need to talk." Behind me, Ethan reached for my arm. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Offline," I said. I walked out the front door, dropped the cake in the trash can by the curb, and drove to my parents' house. My parents lived 15 minutes away in a beige 2-story with a tiny front porch and 3 wind chimes that never matched. 2 rocking chairs sat out front. The one on the right creaked when you moved. When I pulled up, my sister Lily's minivan was already there. I walked in without knocking. That is how it always was. They were at the kitchen table like they were waiting for me. My mom with a tissue in her hand, my dad with his arms crossed, Lily with her elbows on the table, face serious. Jake's Jeep was not in the driveway. Ethan's car was not either. "Sweetheart," my mom said, standing up. "We heard. Jake called us. Sit down." I stayed standing. "You heard what I asked?" "That you walked in on something," my dad said carefully, "and left the house. We need to calm down and talk this through." Lily frowned. "Nina, are you sure you saw it right? Maybe it looked worse than it was." I laughed once. It sounded harsh. "I saw it on video first," I said. "Then I saw it live. There is no right way to see your brother in bed with your fiancé." My mom flinched. "Please do not say it like that." "How should I say it?" I asked. "Should I use a nice word?" "We are not saying it is okay," Lily said. "It is awful. Jake knows he messed up. Ethan too, but you cannot just throw the whole family away over this." "Why does it feel like you are more worried about them than me?" I asked. My dad sighed. "We are worried about all of you, but we cannot lose your brother over some relationship. You know how he is. He acts first and thinks later." "I am not some relationship," I said. "I was about to be Ethan's wife." Lily looked at me with that big sister face she has, half gentle, half firm. "Listen," she said, "you are 36, you are smart, you are beautiful. You can find another man. But Jake is your only brother. Men come and go. Jake will always be your blood." That line slid into some crack inside me and hit hard. Men come and go. Jake will always be your blood. I stared at her. "So that is it," I said. "You all decided already. I am the part that can be swapped out." My mom started crying. "No, that is not what she meant. She meant family is forever." "Oh, I heard her. Fine," I said. I took out my phone and put it on the table. I opened the email and hit play. Turned the volume down, but the video was clear. They all watched in silence. The doorway, the bed, Ethan, Jake. Lily's mouth dropped open. My mom covered her eyes. My dad's jaw clenched. I paused it before it got worse. "This was not one drunk mistake," I said. "Someone filmed them. Someone thought I should know." My dad exhaled. "What do you want us to say?" he asked. "Do you want us to disown your brother for you?" "I want you to see what you are asking me to forgive," I said. "And then stop telling me that I can just find another man like Ethan is a pair of shoes." Lily shook her head. "You are twisting my words." "No," I said quietly. "I am hearing them." I picked up my phone and my bag. "Where are you going now?" my mom asked. "Somewhere with better security," I said. I walked out before they could stop me. That night I slept on an air mattress in my coworker Tara's spare room. Tara is the one on my team who swears the most and always brings hot sauce to lunch. When I texted her Jake and Ethan, "My bed, need place," she called me in 5 seconds flat and said, "Get your ass over here." Her townhouse was small. There were yoga mats leaning in the corner and a cat that watched me suspiciously from the top of the bookshelf. The air mattress squeaked every time I moved. I did not sleep much. Instead, I stared at the ceiling and thought like I was at work. Step 1 when you find a breach is to identify the entry point. Step 2 is to see how far it spread. Step 3 is to cut off access and clean up. I already knew the entry point. Jake, Ethan. 2 people I had trusted with full access. I needed to know how deep it went. At around midnight, I opened my laptop. My fingers moved in old patterns, not to hack anything. I did not need to break laws, but I knew where we had shared things, which devices, which accounts. First, I logged into our cloud photo storage. It was under my name because I was the one who had set it up. Random pictures filled the screen. Dog photos, sunsets, screenshots of recipes. I typed "recently deleted" into the search bar. A folder popped up. I clicked. Dozens of photos sat there. Some blurry, some clear. All from the last 6 months. Ethan and Jake in a loft-style room with brick walls and big windows. Some shots of hands holding coffee cups. Shoes on a couch. A shadow on a wall. In one picture, you could see part of Ethan's face and Jake's bare shoulder. They were close, too close for oops. Another was just Jake's hand on someone's thigh. The blanket under them was the same pattern as the one from the video. My stomach twisted. I checked the photo info. Dates. Times, location tags. Many of them said taken at the Mill Studios downtown, so that was their place. The next morning, after 3 hours of real sleep, I sat in a plastic chair at a small law office above a check cashing place. Tara had slid the business card into my hand before work. "Talk to him," she said. "His name is Rios. He helped my cousin get out of a mess. He is tough." The waiting room smelled like coffee and old carpet. It was 10 at night. A buzzing neon sign from the street blinked red and white through the window. The receptionist led me back to a cramped office. The man behind the desk was in his 60s. Brown skin, gray hair, reading glasses low on his nose. He wore a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up and a dark tie loosened at his neck. "You are Nina," he said. "I am Marcos Rios. Tell me what happened. Short version first." I did. "The shorter version is I walked in on my brother and my fiancé," I said. "We are not married yet, but we share a lease and a joint savings account. My family says I should forgive them both because family. I do not want to. I want out. Clean. And my ex works at a church that cares a lot about image." He listened without interrupting. The only sound was his pen on the yellow pad. "You work in computers," he said when I finished. "Cybersecurity," I said. "I stop people from breaking into places they should not be." "Good," he said. "You understand access and leverage then. Right now your fiancé has access to your money and your space. We fix that first. Then we talk about leverage." "Leverage how?" I asked. He took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "You said he is an associate pastor," he said. "Those contracts usually have morals clauses, no cheating, no misuse of funds. You also said he may have used church money to rent a studio for activity." I nodded. "The photos I found, they were taken at a place called the Mill Studios. He always told me he was at late-night worship practice there, or counseling someone. He said the church rented it sometimes." Mr. Rios tapped the pen. "If the church paid for those hours and he used them for personal affairs, that is misuse. If he did it often, that is a pattern. Patterns are powerful. A judge does not care about your broken heart, Nina. They care about patterns, money, paper." "So what do?" I asked. "First," he said, "you gather the logs legally. Anything under your name, your accounts, you can pull. Photos, bank statements, lease. Then we shut off shared access you control. Do not drain accounts. Do not change things that belong to both of you without notice. That can bite you. But you move your direct deposit. You freeze cards that are only in your name. You document everything." "And my family?" I asked. "They are pushing hard. My sister told me I can just find another man, but I will never get another brother." He smiled sadly. "Family is like a network too. Sometimes you have to block entire IP ranges to stay safe. If you keep letting them in, they will flip all your switches back." "So I cut them off," I said. "That is your choice," he said. "I can help with the legal parts. The emotional part is on you." He gave me a list of things to do. The next day I went to the bank on my lunch break. I sat at a desk with a young guy in a polo shirt and asked to open a new account in only my name. I moved my paycheck deposit there. I did not touch the joint savings yet. I let the numbers sit. I wanted a clear story. I called our phone provider. Ethan's line was on my plan. I told them in simple words that I would not be paying for that line anymore. They switched it to his name. I changed the password on the cloud photo account and locked him out. It was my email, my name, my storage. Then I went deeper. I logged into our shared budgeting app. Ethan had been the one who loved it at first. He liked moving little digital envelopes around. Under notes, for several charges, I saw Mill Studios, church meeting. The church card number was listed on some of them. On others, he had used our joint account. Then I logged into the smart lock app on my phone, the one for our front door that Jake had always made fun of. "Old school keys are fine," he would say. "All your apps just spy on you." Maybe he should have worried more. The app showed every time the door had opened. It also showed which code had been used. Ethan had his own code. I had mine. We had given Jake a guest code once when he stayed there after a fight with his roommate. I scrolled back through the last 3 months. There it was. 3 different nights where my code was used in the evening when I was at work. Ethan's after, then at 2 a.m. Jake's guest code, then Ethan's again an hour later, then my code in the morning when I came home from an overnight shift. He had brought Jake into my house with my code. Used me as the key. That was the killer receipt. I screen captured everything and sent the files to Mr. Rios. When I handed him the printouts of the smart lock log, he gave a low whistle. "This is very clear," he said. "He knew when you were gone. He let your brother in. This is not an oops. This is a schedule." Within 48 hours, Ethan was served with a stack of papers at the church offices. We chose the timing on purpose. Tuesday mornings were staff meetings. All pastors and department heads at the big conference table in the glass wall room off the lobby. I sat in my car across the parking lot with the engine off and the window cracked. The process server, a woman in jeans and a blazer, walked in with a manila envelope. Through the glass, I saw Ethan's head turn. She said his name. He nodded, confused. She handed him the envelope and said something. People turned to look. He opened it. Even from far away, I could see his shoulders drop. Those papers did not only say, "We are done." They also listed his use of church money at the Mill Studios, the photos, the smart lock logs, the dates. He called me 12 times that day. I did not pick up. Instead, I emailed a very simple packet to the head pastor and the church's HR coordinator. Subject: serious concern regarding Associate Pastor Ethan Cole body. I am sending this as a courtesy and out of respect for your community standards. Ethan has been using church funds and church-booked studio space for an affair with my brother. I thought you would want to know before this becomes a bigger story. See attached dates and redacted evidence. I did not send the video. I sent the list of charges. The photo dates. The studio rental confirmations that still sat in our shared email. The smart lock timeline. Enough. 2 days later, Pastor Green called me. He was the senior pastor, a big man with a gentle voice. "Nina," he said, "I am so sorry. We had no idea." "I believe you," I said, "but you have a code of conduct. I read it when Ethan signed." "We do," he said slowly. "We are already meeting with him and the board. I needed to hear from you that this is not some misunderstanding." "It is not," I said. "I walked in on them." He was quiet for a long time. "I will not ask you to forgive him right now," he said. "That is between you and God, but I will tell you there will be consequences here." "I know," I said. "That is why I sent it." The church asked Ethan to resign. They announced to the congregation that he had failed to meet the standards of leadership and would be stepping down. They did not give details, but people talk. Within a week, everyone knew it had something to do with cheating. Ethan's mother called me. "How could you do this to him?" she cried. "One mistake and you destroy his whole career." "He destroyed his own career," I said. "I just showed the logs." My own family did not like that answer either. We had one final big fight at my parents' house. My mom had invited everyone. She said, "We need to at least sit down before you blow everything up, Nina." So I went. We sat in the living room with the old brown couch and the glass coffee table that still had a chip from when Jake dropped his science project in 8th grade. My dad, my mom, Lily, and Jake were there. Ethan, too. He looked like he had not slept. Dark circles. No church badge hanging from his belt anymore. "Nina," my mom said, "we know what they did was wrong, but what you did, going to his job, sending things to his pastor, that feels like revenge." "Good," I said, "because that is exactly what it was." Ethan leaned forward. "I know I hurt you," he said. "I know I do not deserve anything, but what we had, it was real. Does it mean nothing that we were going to get married?" I looked at him. "You stood on a stage every week and told people to be faithful," I said. "While you used church money to sneak my brother into a rented studio and my bed. Whatever we had is gone. There is nothing to save." Jake shifted in his chair. "I already said I am sorry," he muttered. "How long are you going to punish us? Until I feel safe," I said. "And right now, that is a long time." Lily shook her head. Safe from what? She said. We are your family. We are not criminals. I pulled the printed smart lock log from my bag and tossed it on the table. Safe from this, I said. See these codes? That is mine, that is his, that is Jake's. They used my code to check my schedule. When my phone location showed I was at work, they came over. That is planning, that is not a stumble. And you looked at me and said men can be replaced, Jake cannot. Her face flushed. I did not mean it like that, she said. How did you mean it? I asked. Because that is exactly what you said. My dad spoke up, voice tight. Nina, he said. If you keep dragging this out, you will end up alone. Jake will always be your brother. We will always be your parents. Ethan can be out of the picture, fine. But to cut off all of us over this, that is too much. I thought of networks again. Of cutting off a whole section of an office because malware had spread through every machine. Sometimes you cannot save half. You shut the whole thing down. I would rather be alone with clean walls than surrounded by people who left the doors open, I said. My mom started crying again. Please do not say that, she whispered. You will regret this. Maybe, I said, but regret is not as bad as living like this. Are you saying you are done with us? Lily asked. I looked at each of them. Jake staring at the floor, Ethan clutching a tissue, my parents torn between anger and fear, Lily her arms folded like a shield. I am saying this, I said. After the legal pieces are done, I am moving. I will not be at holidays. I will not answer group texts. If you want to reach me, it will be through my lawyer. You can love Jake all you want. You can forgive Ethan. That is your choice. My choice is this. No more access. Jake finally looked up. You cannot just erase me, he said. I can revoke your access, I said. It is the same thing. I walked out. 2 months later, the mediation happened. Ethan and I sat on opposite sides of a bland conference room, gray carpet, fake plant in the corner. A long table with a pitcher of water and small cups. He had a new lawyer. I had Mr. Rios. We did not have kids. We had furniture. A lease. A savings account with both names, some wedding deposits, small things on paper, huge things in my mind. Thanks to the evidence, the leverage was mine. Ethan agreed to move out of the rental by the end of the month. His name came off the lease. He would forfeit his share of the savings in exchange for me not going public with the more graphic parts. We both agreed to cancel the wedding. Vendors kept some deposits. I could not make myself care. The only real fight in that room was not about money. It was about future contact. Ethan's lawyer suggested we keep an open path for possible reconciliation or at least future friendship. She is angry now, he said. Feelings change. They may want to speak one day. I almost laughed. My client is not interested in that, Mr. Rios said. We propose a mutual agreement not to contact each other in any way except through counsel if there is a true emergency. No calls, no texts, no emails, no social media, clean cut. The mediator, a tired woman with a notebook, looked at me. Mtks Patel, she said. Are you sure you want something so strict? Yes, I said. Ethan's eyes filled. You do not want even the chance to maybe talk someday, he asked. Just to, I do not know, say you are okay. I will be okay without you knowing, I said. This is cold, he whispered. I work in security, I said. When something is infected, you isolate it. You do not keep a tiny bridge open just in case. That is how you get reinfected. He looked at the table. I love you, he said quietly. I signed my name on the line. Later, outside the building, my phone buzzed with a text from Lily. If you sign away all of us too, that is on you, she wrote. We tried, I did not answer. Instead, I called a moving company. 2 years later, I lived in Minneapolis. It was a long way from Phoenix in every sense. The first winter almost killed me. I bought a real coat for the first time in my life. My small apartment looked out over a frozen lake with tiny black dots where people went ice fishing. I had taken a new job as a senior cybersecurity manager for a healthcare network. More hospitals, more risk, more work. I liked it. It kept my brain busy. The first time the hospital system had a big attempted breach, my team and I stayed all night watching logs. We have to wall this off. one of my analysts said. If it jumps to the main network, we are screwed. I nodded. Cut the connections, I said. We can rebuild what we lose. We cannot fix everything if it spreads. After we stopped it, I sat alone in the break room at 4 in the morning with a stale muffin and thought about family. I had not spoken to my parents in 2 years. They had tried. My mom sent me a long email on my 40th birthday. She wrote about how they missed me, about Jake going to therapy, about Ethan getting a steady job at a warehouse, about Lily's kids asking about Aunt Nina. She ended with "Our door is always open." I stared at the words for a long time. Then I archived the email and went back to work. About a year after that, I got a letter from a lawyer in Arizona. My father had had a minor heart attack. He was okay, but my parents were updating their wills. The letter asked me to sign a form saying I understood that I would not be included. I signed it. I mailed it back. Access removed. No more questions. People think that sounds harsh. Maybe it is. But every time I thought about loosening the firewall, I remembered that line in my mother's kitchen. Men can be replaced, Jake cannot. I knew where I stood in that network. 4 more years passed. I moved up at work. I became director of cybersecurity for the whole hospital system. I spoke at a conference in Chicago. I started a Saturday morning habit of walking around the lake near my condo with coffee in a travel mug. I also met someone. His name is Marcus. He is 41. He teaches high school art. He is calm in a way that does not feel fake. His idea of a good time is making pizza from scratch and watching documentaries about space. We met because I went to a community ceramics class to get out of my head. He was there helping the teacher clean up after. He noticed I always stayed late, scrubbing glaze off the tables. "You are either very helpful or very bad at leaving," he said one night, smiling. "Both," I said. On our third date over tacos at a little place that played old soul music, I told him the whole story. I watched his face carefully as I spoke. When I got to the part about cutting off my family, he did not flinch. "I get it," he said. "My mom let my uncle steal from her over and over because she kept saying he is family. Sometimes blood is not a good enough password." I laughed, really laughed, for the first time about all of it. Now I am 43. Tonight, as I tell this, I am at a small restaurant by the Mississippi River in Minneapolis. Brick walls, big windows, candles in jars on each table. It is my birthday again. Marcus sits across from me. He brought me a card with a drawing of a little padlock and a heart. Inside he wrote, "To the only person I trust with all my passwords." My phone buzzes on the table. Unknown number. Arizona area code. For a second my hand moves toward it. Old reflex. Then I stop. Marcus looks at me. "You do not have to check it," he says. I nod. I flip the phone face down. "Not my network anymore," I say. "We eat dessert." We walk along the river after, hand in hand, the lights from the bridge reflecting on the water. I think about all the doors I have shut, the calls I have not taken, the emails I have archived. Some people will hear this and say I am bitter, that I should have forgiven. That family is everything. But in my world, if you leave a system open after it has been broken into, you are asking to be hurt again. You do not let the same attacker keep the same keys. You close the ports. You rebuild from scratch. And if anyone asks me why I cut off my brother, my ex, and my own parents, this is my answer. I chose to save the part of my life that could still be secure, even if it meant unplugging everything else. Thanks for watching until the end. Like, share, and subscribe.